Imagine yourself in this situation. You're sitting in an uncomfortable chair in a room that is somehow too hot and too cold at the same time. You look around and find yourself surrounded by people in the exact same situation as you. You're nervous, palms sweating, hands shaking, the usual. Your heart is beating a little faster than normal in anticipation of what is to come. You realize that what is about to happen can make the difference between the college of your dreams and your local community college, between scholarships and student loan debt. These next 3 hours are crucial. Finally, the wait is over. The proctor says begin, and a test that could very well determine a large part of your future has begun. My name is Emma Savage, and I'm a junior in high school. The scenario I described is a reality for myself and so many other high school juniors and seniors. Our futures are determined by tests that don't know us as people, don't know the way we learn, and don't know that the math section of the ACT is really the last thing we care about. Much of our futures revolve around the results displayed on a piece of Scantron paper. Now, that's not to be said that that is the only thing that will determine the path we end up on for the next 4 years. Other things factor in as well, like community service, your overall GPA, and extracurricular activities. These all play into a college or university admission board's decision to grant a student spot in that year's freshman class. The problem is not that standardized testing exists. The problem is that as far as college and university admissions go, standardized test results stand equal, if not greater, in weight to a student's other achievements. Standardized testing has long been the go-to for colleges and universities to find out if a student is a good match for their school. Different levels of schools hold different standards for these test results. For example, my local community college accepts students with an ACT score of as low as 17. Most public universities require a higher score of 22 to 25, and top universities are fans of students with scores in the 30s. These tests play a huge part in a college's decision to admit a student. Most colleges and universities list these scores under their admissions requirements. Most will not admit a student without these scores regardless of other achievements. Now, this is not to say that all colleges and universities feel this way about standardized test scores. This past July, the Washington Post published an article about George Washington University joining the ranks of about 850 schools in the United States that chose not to require test scores for admissions. That means about 28.3% of students in the U.S. now don't require these tests. This is huge progress and serves to further prove my argument that scores do not have to be the biggest part or even any part of the college admissions process. So what could take the place of standardized test scores in these admissions processes? There are a variety of things, but there are 3 I really want to focus on: community service, core GPA, and difficulty of classes taken in high school. Community service shows that a student is willing to work hard at something besides school. Service learning is very beneficial and can show a college or university that a student is willing to be given. So what could take the place of standardized test scores in the admissions process? There are a variety of things, but there are 3 I really want to focus on: community service, a core GPA, and a difficulty of classes taken in high school. Community service shows that a student is willing to work hard at something besides schoolwork. Service learning is very beneficial and can show a college or university that a student is willing to give back to the community the school is located in as well as the campus itself. Along those same lines, a core GPA is also a way to show a student's diligence. For example, a student with a 4.0 or above GPA is going to be more likely to care about their success in higher education than a student with a 2.97 GPA. This is also reflected in a student's rigor of courses in high school. A student who is taking AP classes is showing a college that they are willing to challenge themselves and more than an average student. If I were on a college or university admissions board, I would be much more likely to accept a student who challenged themselves with AP calculus over a student who chose to take bridge math. These 3 things can serve to prove a student's ability to excel in college just as much or more than these standardized test results. They can easily take the place of those scores in the admissions process. By this point, you may be asking, why should we move away from standardized testing when it continues to provide a general idea of a student's academic performance? For one thing, a single test cannot showcase a student's knowledge of a certain subject as well as a GPA can. A test shows a student's knowledge of a certain subject during a certain 45 minutes to 1 hour period. A GPA, on the other hand, shows how a student can learn and then apply that knowledge in an environment much less stressful than that of a testing room. Another rebuttal on my part would be to say that standardized testing does not know the student as a person. Most students are much more likely to excel in an environment where they are comfortable rather than a stressful timed test. For example, when I took the ACT this past spring, I scored a 28 on the English portion of the test. I was fairly disappointed with this because English is a subject I normally excel in. It was not that the test itself was hard, it was the fact that the testing environment I was in was not one that was helpful to my task of recalling grammar rules that I had not thought about since I first learned them. This shows that if I had not felt the stress of the importance of this test, then there is a good possibility that I would perform much better. This links back to the fact that standardized tests are worth too much to a college admissions board and puts too much pressure on a student who is taking the test. In order to make this change, the first step is for us as students to make our voices heard. I know that I speak for many when I say that I am tired of having a constant stress of doing well on tests that are weighted far too much. To begin, parents should be open to their kids' concerns about these tests because in our society, adults are the ones who really have the power to make the change despite what Disney Channel tells us. Then parents can start a chain reaction to begin this movement of relieving stress and making a change in the lives of the students. If colleges and universities grow more open to these ideas, then the opportunity for more students to receive higher education grows. More people receiving a higher education can only do good, making the society better. The faster colleges and universities realize that standardized testing is not the only way, the faster we can create a more educated society equipped to change the world for better.